We are back. This stuff ought to be resonating with a few people by now. Today will be our last conversation on the freedom of time, and that's a lot to build on. We're going to be moving into the discussion about the freedom of money, which we always talk financial freedom, and I kind of have gotten myself over talking about wealth and financial freedom and all that. But we'll never be able to get far away from it because bottom line is, if you have to work for money, you're not free. And however much money you need to fund your ideal lifestyle is what you need to have coming in some form of income producing or from some form of income producing asset, or what, John?
Residual profit from a business.
You're not free, right? So there's no really escaping the financial money aspect of this. But I'm sensitive to the fact that, and I actually don't believe anybody's motivated by money. And so I love how this is packaged in reference to the freedom of time, money, relationships, and purpose. Because ultimately, every time I peeled back the onion on being motivated by money, they really weren't. They were motivated by all of those other things that money is a necessary evil to enjoy. So, but money is a quarter of it. We're moving into that next. To review last week, we talked about two kind of takes on procrastination, which I identified as kind of throwing me a curveball. But the sad fact for we adults is that that habit came from us culturally and from our upbringing, and the measurement started, as far as I know, in college, where 85 to 95% of college students are chronic procrastinators, meaning they cannot get themselves to do the work they need to do, and as a result, experience negative unintended consequences. Now, sadly, as adults, most of us spend most of our time putting off things that matter most. Procrastination will ruin your life and your potential. And these are habits that can be broken, but that are formed early on. Since most people procrastinate, they live with regret, and they ultimately settle for average. So procrastination is really, really, really bad, right?
Not necessarily.
Well, not so fast. It can also be leveraged as a form of wisdom. It can be looked at as a clue that you need to do what, John?
You need to find a who to help you get over that next what's a nice way to put it? Like speed bump, I think. Or
It's just another thing, right? It ultimately, what the clue is telling you is that it's probably those things you're procrastinating getting done probably lie within the 80% bucket of things that you shouldn't be doing, aren't the best at doing, don't have the time to do, whatever. You find a who to do them. And just imagine going even beyond procrastination, but just imagine having everything outside of your 20%, outside of your unique skill sets, abilities, passions, everything being done by who. You never have to worry about procrastination. How much bigger would the possibilities become? But to John's point, procrastination could be a clue leveraged as wisdom that it's time for you to engage another who. But will you? Or will you just sit on it like so many other people do? Now, if you listen to it, it could be telling you something very profound. If you don't listen, then you're headed for misery and mediocrity. So really, the two sides of procrastination being really, really bad means you do nothing about it and ignore the clue, or it being a leverage, a form of wisdom if you'll listen to that clue, identify the activity that you're procrastinating on, and find a who to do it. And to do that, to really kill it, you've got to be, in other words, to enlist the right who, you've got to be radically explicit about the goal or the result that activity is meant to generate and contribute to. And you've got to get in the habit of asking yourself, who can help me accomplish this goal? Who can do this task better than me, quicker than me, in less time, quicker than me, less time than me? I think you get the idea, right? Your
Yeah.
2 cents.
Well, I guess the thing that jumped out to me immediately is like, who's going to procrastinate on finding a who because they're procrastinating to get something done, right? It's kind of like self-fulfilling prophecy there. That's funny, and I love the kind of the first point you made there about being radically explicit about your goals. And what I hear there is like, what's that? Isn't there a song like that? I want to scream or shout like my love from like the mountaintops or something like that. Like you got kind of
Probably.
almost take, yeah, you got to take like some sort of approach like that when you're sharing the vision and sharing the things that you're working on. Hint, hint. That's why we're putting all this stuff together, right? Share this information here because the only way you're going to be able to find people that are like-minded and where you can have like a mutual who relationship, like they're who to you and you're who to them, is literally just sharing what you're up to, and those people will be attracted to the mission, to the vision, and then that alignment and those synergies kind of just show up naturally, right? And sharing what you're up to and having conversations with the right who's.
Well, and this will get covered, has been and will be again in more detail. But the bottom line is there, gang. Trust this. You have an audience. And that clarity is what will allow your needs to resonate with the right audience. And to John's point, they will line up. They will line up to come help you fulfill your vision because it will align with theirs. Shouting it from the mountaintop, another way we put that is the velocity of your message. Trust there's an audience. Quit worrying about the ones that aren't in it. They're of no value to you whatsoever, particularly from a professional perspective, and go shout it from the mountaintops. Today with social media, et cetera, with such velocity that you collapse time frames in a massive, massive way and identify, they're going to identify themselves. You identify who the who's are that this resonates with and get them enrolled into the daggone thing and get on with it. Let's just get on with it. And so moving forward, and again, I've mentioned it a couple of different times in different ways, but imagine finding a who for every aspect of your life. John and I talked about building a self-managed, internally motivated distribution channel that, I mean, self-managing is huge, but ultimately it's generating residual profit to fund your ideal lifestyle so that you go live your purpose. And if you choose, you get paid to do nothing because you've got a who for every aspect of your life. So in this part of the book, they start out with a story about a manufacturing company needing to rapidly relocate from China because of tariff environments, et cetera, to India. Well, the proprietor had never done business in India. He knew all about doing business in China. And so there were several decisions that needed to be made. How do you start in a new country? Where would you build a plant for it to be the most ideally located? Who would supply you the necessary raw materials in that region? Those were the questions that needed to be answered. And the proprietor knew he wasn't the right person to take on those challenges. Instead, and so he was asking the wrong questions. So instead, he realized that in order to move at the pace he needed to move, he needed to ask who. Who can help me start manufacturing in India? Who can find me the best place to build a plant in India? Who can find me the best supplier in India? Who? And the right who's proved to shave years off of his transition had he tried to figure it out on his own or with his current team that knew how to operate in China, but not in India. So critical to achieving the desired result, which was a rapid transition, which who, not how, is all about. In order to achieve this result, the owner also knew he needed to stay out of the who's ways because he had no idea about any of these things. So stay out, enroll them and get out of their way. He needed to trust the who's to create the desired result. And he needed to resist the urge, which is one of the hardest urges I've ever dealt with sole proprietor business owner. He needed to resist the urge to micromanage people. And if you find the right who's, and you may not necessarily with the first one, but when you, let me not say if, when you find the right who's, you've got to trust their expertise. You getting involved will create a bottleneck.
Yeah. Well, to add to that real quick, while you wet the whistle, I like I like that, man. Gotta stay legal.
Never a more literal thing been said.
Yeah, so funny. I digress, but it literally is probably the hardest thing, and it's been one of the hardest things for me, and I still do it to this day. So there's no perfect anything. I don't think. I think. Well, let me take it back. I think everything the way that it is perfect, and there's always room for improvement. So having that mindset that the way that it is the way it's supposed to be, and then taking responsibility for, okay, if I don't like exactly the way it is, I can adjust and change it. But I digress a little bit. Not stepping in and helping people, because that's what I hear when I hear like micromanage. It's not only like checking up on people and making sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, or give me a report every hour on the hour, or even like every day or whatever. Being able to let go of that will free up space for yourself, but then also like it literally empowers the people that you work with, gives them more confidence, and like with more confidence they start to take more action. They start feeling like they can take more and more on naturally. And it's like the this might be a terrible analogy, but kind of like the sink or swim. You like throw the kid in the pool and see if they can like sink or swim. But how does that kid feel after they swim? Right. And then as you're developing and growing, you're growing like the who's around you, and like the capacity of your self-managing company, and for like the things it can do. You're literally empowering and creating more leaders, and giving them more responsibility, allowing them to make their own mistakes and learn from it and grow from it. And then you become more of like a support system for that structure, or someone that can be there to kind of just continue to encourage, mentor, guide, and lead the right who's, versus being the person that has to like check on them, like a man. Like who wants to be a man? Like who wants to be a manager, right? That's terrible.
Well, I think that's why that term is used specifically. It doesn't suggest that there isn't a collaboration that's still going to go on. Again, this is an equal partner. And as the proprietor, you're still responsible for steering the ship and making sure that you're staying on track with the vision. But the micromanaging suggests, to John's point, you're not on them every hour on the hour, managing them. They're the experts. They possess the skill sets that you brought in to achieve the very well, clearly articulated goal. And so what you'll begin to realize, even as the owner, and I mean, I really hope by now this is starting to have an impact. If you've been watching this, hold on, because it's going to get even more intense, and it isn't a rocket science. But as the owner, you'll begin to realize how much more agile and capable your company is. With this success, you'll become more confident in what your overall company and team in particular is capable of, and you'll become more confident in adding more who's, which just opens up more possibility. You'll become more confident in how much faster and bigger you can actually grow your company. Your goals become almost infinite. You'll realize that the potential is absolutely limitless, no longer constrained by you. Freedom, because of who, not how. One person's perspective was this: what is the ultimate quantification of success? And that's subjective, be it monetary or quality of life, whatever, doesn't matter. But for me, out of this, it's not so much about how much time I spend doing what I love versus how little time I spend doing what I don't love, what I don't want to be doing. And imagine, again, a who for all aspects. Imagine doing very little to nothing of what you don't like doing. I mean, there's a reason you don't like doing it. You're not good at it, whatever the reason. Imagine eliminating those things from your life and from your productive work day. And imagine how much more, if consequently all you're focused on are the things that you're good at or that you enjoy doing, how much more productive you'll be. And time and again, shifting your mindset from how to do something that's linear to who, which is exponential, solves problems easier because it frees up time. It provides for you to gain more clarity and more focus, which we've already identified as a key thing in rolling who's. So you'll get more clear and more focused. It's going to open up bigger possibilities, bring better results faster. Why? It's not all reliant on you, and you've got experts in these given disciplines. And it ultimately enables the living of your purpose, both personally and professionally. And more importantly, or at least as importantly, all of those who's, both personally and professionally, particularly professionally, are in pursuit of their purpose as well. And what they're doing as a significant who for you in this vision that you've enrolled them in is playing a part of that. So how you spend every second on this planet matters. You get in life, or you get from life, what you tolerate. So I want y'all to start to think, as we're getting deeper and deeper into this, when will you stop tolerating the wasteful and painful use of your time? I mean, John and I can tell you, we can attest. I mean, I wouldn't say it was overnight, but I would say, and we held up each other accountable, if you want to call it that, but we collaborated through this process. But I would say it was a full 60 days for both of us to have light bulbs going off and going off in unison. But 60 days to have that happen with your key partner ain't that long.
Well,
It ain't that long.
yeah, well, especially not for the, I guess, the exponential momentum and velocity that's starting to come with that alignment, um, both mentally and then also like out here, like with the things that we're doing. So, and it just gets tighter and tighter every day. But there's something you said that caught my ear and made me think of Jim Rome, ironically enough. He's kind of like
Not
the
kind of.
well, he is, right, the originator of like kind of all this like mindset stuff, and you believe it to achieve it kind of type of thing. But he and there's a word that you said a couple of times that like just sticks out to me. It's like tolerate, right? You get, or you put, you get what you're able or willing to, sorry, you're willing to tolerate. And I think we talked on the last episode about habits, right? And start building those, and you can build them in a negative way and a positive way, moving you closer to your goals or further away from your goals, depending on what those are. But Jim Rome, there's the YouTube video I love to share with people who are like just beginning on this journey, and it's called "Getting Rich is Easy." Now I already know
It's not about money.
there's always some people, right, that are just like, well, they just hear the title and they're like, well, that's BS, right? And then they'll just never watch it. But Jim Rohn, basically the short is like, you can do it your way for a while, or you can find a mentor, right? That'll help you get there fast. You can learn from their mistakes. But he said one of the biggest things that either keeps people where they're at or gets people in a position to where like they've done a lot of stuff in their life, but they're not happy, right, or content with where they've ended up. It's because of one word, neglect. And neglect is also like going back building from last week on the habits. That also becomes a habit too. So like when I hear tolerate, I also think of like neglect that kind of like in my mind, they kind of like meld together. Like if you're tolerating something, you're also probably neglecting something else. And Jim Rohn says that you neglect a little thing here, a little thing there, and then they'll start to grow. And then all of a sudden you're like driving the car you don't want to drive. You're living in the house you don't want to live in. You're working a job or working for some company that you don't really want to work with. Sorry. And it's like you just continue to like build this habit of neglecting little things or tolerating. In my mind, they're like one and the same, dude. So I'm hoping to build a bridge in this gap for you guys. And then one day you just end up like, how did I get here? Right. You ask yourself that question sometimes, like, how did I get here? It's because of like all the little things that you've done up until that point, tolerating or neglecting or both.
Well, and so you said a couple things there. I'll move forward with. It isn't, even though I'm telling you that light bulbs are going off and are now for John and I going off, um, collectively, cohesively, whatever. That's mindset. It hasn't transformed or translated yet 100% into daily, more effective habits. I still find myself, generally speaking, I got a very strong grasp on who, not how, but I still find myself pondering a little bit, trying to figure out, is this a clue? Is this something for a who? And so it's okay as you start to shift your mindset, which has to happen before your behavior is going to shift. It's okay to start small. I don't think anybody, and John talked a few episodes ago about a conversation with his dad and a linear mindset that his dad possessed because of our culture. When John talks about making $1 million, his dad's like, well, how many hours a week do you have to work? Well, you can't. 99.99% of us can't work there aren't enough hours to actively earn $1 million. Maybe that's 97%. Maybe I don't know. But the point is, you don't go from believing that you can make 50 a year to $1 million a year like that. And so starting small is building blocks. And therefore, each of those small wins builds confidence and ultimately then belief that you can, and because this is what matters. Freedom of purpose is in the last spot for a reason. You start to believe that you absolutely can create the life you want, that you shouldn't feel ashamed of it. You should do so and pursue it unapologetically. You just don't yet believe it. And this shift in mindset is going to begin to take you down that path. So start by eliminating that is unnecessary. Start by eliminating everything that is unnecessary to your future self. One of our partners says you attract who you are, not what you want. So it's got to start with you. Start eliminating everything that is unnecessary to your future self. Then get in the habit of setting and reevaluating at a 90-day increment the vision and goals that you set for that last quote unquote quarter as it relates to progress towards your bigger, likely annual goals.
Well, I love before you get too deep into that, I want to offer something for the people listening here. So two things. This 90-day thing works, and surprisingly, everything works, right? If you do it. But I just heard a powerful example of this of someone we work with on the financial side of our business, who went from was it like 50K to 150K in like 1 year or something.
Oh Lord, there's so many examples of that. But
so like he did that in 1 year, tripled his income, and I think recently, because that was like a little while ago, and then recently he just had like his first $30,000 month. So he's like building up momentum, and he's getting there, and he uses this 90-day mentality. We sprint for 90 days, and then he'll take like a week off. Again, right? We talk about working, but then also the recharge time can be some of your most valuable, most creative time to then give you an opportunity to like reevaluate what you've done, but then also come up with new ideas, right, to build on for the future. And there's just So an example, and then I've got a phenomenal book I'm going to recommend, The 12-Week Year. Don't know the author off the top of my head. I'm sure we could find that, maybe share it with you guys. But if you type 12-week year, right, into Google, you can find it. And it's all about these 90-day sprints and then collapsing your goals into 90-day windows and then reevaluating, adjusting. There's power when you do that over time and you start to compound those. Again, just another exponential trick to help you guys create those goals.
Well, and again, if you needed to get into that habit, nothing wrong with a 30-day sprint.
There you go.
John and I right now are on a sprint to the end of the year because I just said we were. So he'll get it. He'll get it. I don't have to elaborate, right? And so this, but ultimately, the most effective, efficient, successful way to operate is in these 90-day sprints. The author of this book calls them your moving future. And I will post questions or have posted questions, depending on where this falls in your viewing time frame, questions that you should review in each of those moving future 90-day sprints. And as you get more and more efficient and intentional with this process, because again, it is creating a new habit, you'll also get more and more out of your time, which means you'll begin to accomplish more, as will your team and your business. You'll be shocked at how much you've achieved in each of the, meaning each 90-day increment. You'll get more out of time. You'll accomplish more. You'll become absolutely blown away by how much you achieve in the previous 90 days. And then especially when you compare it to the previous 90 days, if that makes sense. And that's what you're going to want to focus on. Don't focus on the next 90 days or outside of planning for it, or don't focus on where you think you ought to be at this juncture. Just focus on the gain of the last 90 days compared to the previous 90 days, etc. You'll also then eliminate more and more tasks from your plate. You've heard us talk about the 80-20, removing, dispensing, finding who's for the 80. And you're going to go through that process at every level of your business. And I think it was Keegan that you were talking about, who was just kind of in a habit of making $8 to $12 grand a month, not really having to work all that hard to do it, but beginning to realize that his purpose was bigger than that. And so he tripled his income, which now he meant he believed he could do it, but he did not do it alone. And that's key to this. But now if he believes he can triple his income and he's at 150, what's that next level? 600 or 700? And as John alluded to, he had just had his first $36,000 month. Not alone. He's got key collaborative partners that are contributing to that vision. He's helping them win and they're helping him win. So that's that 80-20 reduction that we keep talking about. And I can tell you each time his income went up, he focused more on the next 20 and got rid of more of the last 80. So his confidence continues to grow, as will yours. Your vision will grow. Shane, one of our partners, calls it taking the rubber band off your brain. Our brains are so constrained by so many factors. And it's going to be the sensation of that rubber band popping, bing, bing. And it's just getting looser and looser, and your vision is getting bigger and bigger and becoming more and more possible with each of these successive 90-day periods. Now, I don't know. I mean, unless you're dead from the neck up, the only other possible outcome is becoming more and more excited about your future. And as all that continues to go on, you're just going to continue to add more and more significant who's. So I'm going to end this with a challenge. I don't think we've done this. Now, I will also add at this point this. We are looking for more who's. We're looking for a significant number of significant who's all over North America. And we want to help you shift your mindset and begin to experience the things that we're talking about that we're experiencing. But here's the challenge. First, read and answer the questions that I will have put in the description on YouTube here. Second, ask yourself, resist from asking how you alone could accomplish this, but ask who can help you accomplish this. Make a list. John, we always say your net worth is what?
Tied to your network.
Tied to your network. And that may be directly or indirectly. Somebody on that list may connect you to the who that you need to enroll. So ask yourself who can help you accomplish this. And third, add a who to your team in the next 90 days. And watch, or I'm even going to say, add a who to your team by the end of this year. And watch how your confidence begins to explode related to the bigger results you'll be able to accomplish in collaboration with that significant who. In the end, it's more satisfying to be useful now than to be remembered later. Because you ain't around for the remembering. So let's get useful now. And remember, ultimately, your potential is virtually limitless. When you stop asking how and start asking and enrolling who. Asking who will exponentially create bigger results. And all of the things that we've talked about. You'll free up thousands of hours by leveraging those significant who's. And with all that time, you will have a reborn sense of purpose and clarity that extends, hell, may even originate with your family and friends and those that you love, and the things that you're able to do for and give to them consequently.
If you guys have made it this far through this episode, then you probably liked it. So I would say give us a thumbs up, right? Get some likes on the video. And if you think there's some valuable content in here, maybe someone in your network could benefit from the conversation, or you could be a contributor to them by sharing this information with them. Feel free to share it. And if you want to stay up to date with the conversation and get the videos as soon as they pop out, please subscribe. And that way you can follow along with us as we go through this journey together.
Awesome. We're shifting gears next week. Time is money. That ought to catch everybody's attention.
You would think, all right?
Till then.
See you guys.